Unfortunately, natural hair is not yet widely accepted in some professional settings. So if you're a curly girl or other naturalist, make sure you watch this video to understand if you should adjust your hair in order to get the job. For the best interviewing and career transition advice, make sure you subscribe to my channel and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every month. Lately, the media has been inundated with so many stories of people with curly hair, unique hairstyles, or with dreadlocks being sent home from school, having to cut their hair on site, or being told that their hair is in some kind of violation of a policy. But by the end of this video, you'll have a full understanding of how you should approach your natural hair in your next interview. I am obviously a curly girl, and in my line of work, I am constantly in professional environments and professional settings where I'm making connections with others. But I'm always able to find additional opportunities for advancement in the midst. So let's start with the burning question. Should you be concerned with or change your natural hair before your next interview? The answer to that question depends on several determining factors. So there is no quick and easy fix to answering this question. First, you have to think about what's most important to you, but you also need to be mindful of your industry and your professional work environment, all of which we'll be digging into a bit later within the video. But please know that no matter what, I am not encouraging you to straighten your hair on behalf of getting a job. Me personally, I would reject a company or any other personal endeavor that would require me having to straighten my hair to work there, because that just says that this is obviously not the place for me. So let's start with determining what is most important to you. Start with what's driving your why. Why are you in this position? Why are you looking for a new job? Is it the money? Are you trying to further your career? Is this just a placeholder for you until your business takes off? Think about those things and how important those are to you before doing anything else. Then once you answer this question, that should determine how far you should press the envelope. Is you making a certain amount of money more important than the freedom of your expression or your hair routine or anything having to do with that? Then ask yourself, does my hair expression conflict with me furthering any of the goals that I just mentioned? Ideally, in all honesty, it shouldn't. But this is the world we live in 2019. But if it does, then take some time to brainstorm some ways of how you can align the two, your why and your hair, your natural hair expression. If, for example, if you're a fashionista or you're extremely passionate about living this life of no chemicals or just being natural, etc., then it would be a much better fit for you to align with something that allows you to be the most free. Because if not, if they don't align, you'll be sacrificing something. And at some point, resentment will rise up, and then that will make you taper off of your goals, and you could possibly end up where you started in the first place. And that is not conducive to you. And as I've said before in other videos, nor the people that you were called to serve. I love hearing from my fellow naturals. So make sure you comment below with experiences of how you rock your natural hair in professional environments or some of your favorite hairstyles. I'd love to see and hear about it. So let's talk about industry. This is a very important part for you making this decision. It's no secret that certain industries are more strict than others when it comes to appearance and dress codes. This means that your hair obviously can come into question. Unfortunately, there are several industries that might not consider natural hair, natural hairstyles, business professional, or business formal as needed. So I wanted to give you a list of those to think about as you're in your job search or possibly in an interview process that typically have a more business professional type of dress or have stricter dress codes. And those are banking, healthcare, investment or portfolio management, legal, law enforcement, government, and accounting. One thing to keep in mind is that if you're interviewing for a technical job specifically that requires you to wear a uniform of some sort, then you can be sure that there will be stipulations on how you wear your hair. Now, mind you, I want to be clear that I'm talking about the style of your hair, not the texture. And honestly, the way my hair is right now should fit nicely into one of these categories. But for example, if you think about healthcare, there are certain sanitary standards that must be met for all textures of hair. So if they tell you to pull your hair back, that's not necessarily a sign that they're discriminating against you. If you're following along with the policy and the guidelines that are written and are made clear about dress codes, then it shouldn't be a problem there. Your texture should be fine. But there are companies, and sometimes it comes down to the level of company as opposed to industry, where they may be intimidated by the texture of your hair. And for me personally, I would never want to work somewhere like that. I'm a person that naturally follows the rules, but I should still be able to be myself. And this is my hair in its natural state, and this is what it does. So just be mindful though that if you are looking into any of those industries that I just mentioned, that the way you wear your hair may come into question. But going back to what I mentioned earlier, think about your why. If I'm looking to be the CMO of a bank, then that's just the way the industry is, to have a certain professional appearance. But I would never change the texture of my hair. How my hair is right now should be enough. And so you just have to make that decision for yourself. If you're a little bit more creative, then I would encourage you to find other environments that allow you to do that freely. But if your hair expression and your freedom in that way is more important, then be mindful about applying for jobs within these industries. If you haven't made it to the interview stage yet because you're stuck in the resume writing process, make sure you check out my video, 3 Reasons Why You Need White Space on Your Resume, to help you finish writing the resume and get to that interview. You can find the link below in the description. So lastly, let's talk about how you can decrease the barriers in your interview based on what you do with your natural hair. It's important to do that. Again, be free. I am definitely an advocate for you being who you are, but that doesn't mean that going to an interview is the opportunity to fall on your sword again or to press the envelope. There's still some etiquette that you should be following within that. For one thing, you want to make sure that your hair, no matter the texture, is neat and free of distractions. So for example, I know I have my little side bang here, but the interviewer should see your face. Like, your face should be open and clear. One, because that just removes any barriers. And when you have bangs or things like that, anything that's covering in such a way, except for glasses because you have to see, then it naturally shows deception, like you're trying to cover or trying to hide something. So when your hair is covering your face, that already can put you at a disadvantage. The other thing you want to think about is to not have distracting hair. So you don't want to take anything away from what you're saying to the interviewer, because you're explaining what's on your resume and why you are the best person for the job. But if you have a lot of hair accessories, if you have big, bold colors or statements or things, it's distracting. So the interviewer, when they're sitting down to make a decision on who to hire for this company, they will read the resume and say, oh, right, that's the girl that had the pink hair. And that doesn't serve you at all. So be yourself, but at the same time, it's not about your hair. You don't want it to be distracting. So make sure you keep it neat and to the point. You want to make sure you review the company values before you even apply to the job. So before we can even get to the interview stage, check out the company values to make sure their values align with who you are and how you like to express yourself regarding your appearance. Most of this information is available on a company's website or even a LinkedIn page to where you can review it and look at the dress code to see, is this a place where I can be comfortable being my normal everyday self, where my hair is not going to be an issue, or post-interview, if I want to have an exciting style, that won't be a conflict later on. So review that beforehand so that you don't get caught up in different situations later. Another thing to think about is the company culture. Research the company culture as well before you get to an interview. Now, you might not always find that on a website, but if you check out a company's social media, as more and more companies have social media presences, you can check out the pictures to see the holiday parties or different philanthropic initiatives that will say, or that can tell you, okay, this is how this company rolls. This is the heartbeat of the company. Check out other people who look like you. Is there anyone in the pictures that you resemble, that you can relate to? Look at their hair. I know that seems minuscule, minute, and tedious, but ultimately we're talking about alignment here and your ability to wear your hair with no problem. So you want to check out the culture to see if even potentially there could be a barrier down the line with that. Another thing to help you determine if a company or if a role may be an issue for you post the interview process is if the role, the job that you're applying for itself is customer or client facing, as that's often a determining factor that dictates what'll happen or if any issues will come up with your natural hair. So if you are a person that's in relationship management, account management, where you're constantly meeting with clients, that means that you are the face, you are the spokesperson, you are the brand of the company you work for, and they want to be presented in a specific way, and they have the right to do that. Now, mind you, as I said before, I'm not talking about hair texture, because my hair as it is right now shouldn't be a problem. It's unless I'm in healthcare or in food service where I have to tie my hair back. But ultimately, it shouldn't be an issue. Therefore, like I mentioned before, it should be neat. I shouldn't be covering my face, and it shouldn't be distracting, because it's not about you yourself. It's about the company and the service that they're providing. The same thing with customers. They have an image that they want to convey because there's trust that goes with that. So just keep all of those things in mind in regards to the values, the culture, and what it is specifically that you will be doing. Remember, though, as fashionable as you may be, and I just like to watch fashion, just people watching, and to check out the different creative ways that people like to express themselves. However, the interview is not the place for you to make your statement. That is the opportunity for you to explain from your resume and your cover letter why you are the best person for the job. Your creativity can come later on after you get the role, but that's not the place for you to leave your fashion imprint and to make that fashionable statement. Otherwise, they don't know you. They just remember the statement that you made. And unless you're in the fashion industry, even so, you still have a mouthpiece. You still have to talk. You still have a message that you have to convey. But remember, the interview for most of us, and especially in a corporate environment, is not the place where you fall on your sword, as I said before, to make that statement. So at this point, you should have a better idea of how to approach your natural hairstyle as it pertains to your upcoming interview. However, can you avoid the biggest interview mistakes? Make sure you check out my blog post, the top 5 subtle but most costly interview mistakes, to make sure you avoid them. The link is below in the description. Also, make sure we continue this conversation. Join my Facebook group, From Stagnant Job to Ideal Career, to talk about hot topics like these, and also to keep you abreast on the most pressing career transition trends. If you found this video helpful, Let me know by commenting on it, liking it, subscribing to my channel, but also sharing it with friends who you know are approaching an interview or who are in the midst of their own career transition process. All right, check you out next month.